Hello and welcome to a special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin, coming to you from Kashgar in southern Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. I'm sitting in the mosque of Eid Ka, which is the biggest one in China, and my special guest today is Memet Jume. He's an Imam of the Eid Ka Mosque. Mr. Jume, thank you very much for accepting our interview. Help us understand your daily routine first.
I will start by introducing myself. My name is Memet Jume, and I am the Imam of this mosque. My daily work consists of waking up every morning and coming to this mosque to lead the worship service. After the worship session, I usually study Mandarin at my home until 10 o'clock. After 10 o'clock, since I have a crystal sugar factory with 9 people working there, I go to tell the workers what to do and take care of things there until noon. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I come back to this mosque to lead the worship service, and afterwards, I go back to the crystal sugar factory to arrange the work for the afternoon. After the work is arranged, if there is a meeting, then I attend it. If there isn't, I study Mandarin. In the evening, I often spend time with my children, and they tell me about the lessons they had at school, and I would speak to them in Mandarin. This is basically how my day goes.
So I'd like to know since when you started working as an imam in this mosque, the biggest mosque in China.
I have been a member of the religious clergy for 11 years and have been serving at the Eid Ka Mosque for 6 years.
Just now you mentioned learning Chinese language a couple of times. Why do you pay so much attention to learning the Chinese language, the Putonghua?
Learning the national language is above all an obligation for every citizen. Besides, it is also an interest of mine. I felt sorry for not being able to read more as a child. But now, although I am old, I still enjoy learning Mandarin. It's because I didn't know a word of Mandarin before 2018. Since 2018, I've been trying my best to learn the language and can now communicate in basic Mandarin.
I understand your father experienced a horrible crime and died as a victim. Could you help us? What did that incident change in you, and what did you realize after that?
Before 2014, when my father suffered in the terrorist attack, I wasn't very aware of those acts of inhumanity by extremists. But after experiencing that incident firsthand, I felt particularly disgusted by the 3 evil forces of terrorism, separatism, and extremism. They have brought us too much suffering. They brutally murdered my father, and I hate them.
So what did you decide to do in reaction to that horrible incident and the horrible ideas, the thoughts that drove people to carry out such horrendous acts?
The only way to confront them is by making the religious believers aware of what faith is, what citizenship is, and what the law is.
So would you talk about what you just said during your daily prayer sessions, and how would you explain these to the followers, and what has been the reaction from them?
We in Islam have always stood for solidarity and harmony. We have taken the positive aspects of the Quran and conveyed them to the believers. After making them aware of the dangers of extremism, the believers respond very well in general. They accept it. We first recite the Quran in Arabic and then explain its meaning.
So would you still encounter incidents of people who do not agree with what you tell, what you say, what you do? They maybe even still threaten you. Are there still these kind of incidents?
It did happen before. My father was here before I came to this mosque. My father was preaching and interpreting the verses on Friday, when someone from the congregation jumped out and attacked my father, saying, "You are saying this incorrectly, and you are not preaching as we intended." But in recent years, the state and we have made them realize what extremist religious thought is and what religion actually is through better communication with the public. The believers are also able to correct themselves and to tell good faith from bad.
What do you think helped change the understanding of what Islam is all about here, especially in Kashgar?
Their way of thinking has undergone profound change. In the past, they forgot that they were citizens and believed that religion alone was supreme. And now they are thinking of themselves as citizens of the nation first and then as religious believers.
How do you look at the reports about Muslims being restricted in practicing their traditional customs? How do you look at this?
Mən ançmış toruğa çıxıb durman. Telefonumda olsun, yak öydə kompüter var, kompüter toruğa çıxıb durman.
Take myself as an example. I'm a second-generation member of the religious order. My father worked as a religious clergyman from a very young age, and I took up his profession. Whether it was something I heard from my father or something I witnessed myself, our freedom of religion has never been restricted.
Memet Jume, how many mosques are there in Kashgar?
There are 152 mosques in Kashgar.
What's the population of Kashgar city?
The city now has 800,000 households.
That's about 5,000 people. Every 5,000 people there is one mosque. It's quite a lot.
There are enough mosques in Kashgar to meet the needs of the believers. And there are also mosques where no one goes to worship, and the imams there worship alone. That's why I say there are enough mosques in Kashgar to meet the needs of the believers.
There are people who accuse China or Xinjiang that there's no religious freedom, so-called religious freedom. What is your reaction? What is your observation? Do people have the freedom to follow whichever religion they can follow, so long as it is within Chinese law and regulations?
All our mosques are now open. The faithful, whether at home or in the mosque, are able to fully perform the 5 pillars of Islam, such as reading the Quran, fasting, and pilgrimage. There is no one who won't let me do it.
Normally, how many people would come to pray here on a daily basis, but on most important holidays, how many people will there be?
More people come to the daytime services. For example, the noon and afternoon services. More people have come to the daytime service in recent weeks. Fewer people come to the morning and evening services. That's because some people live far away from here. Some are old and weak, so they can't come here regularly.
How do you plan to do your job of the Imam even better in the future?
I will stay united with the community of believers and listen more to their opinions, to work for the higher purpose of religion. When I preach and interpret the verses, or when I talk with believers, I listen carefully to their needs. In this way, without violating the laws of the country and the institutions of Islam, I can unite them and try to guide them in the right direction. I have faith in the future prosperity and development of Islam.
If I ask you to rate your life on a scale of 10, how much would you give yourself?
I can't be the one who marks my own paper. It's up to the believers to decide how well I perform.
What was the biggest change that took place in your life or your work over the past 5 years?
People's lives have changed significantly over the past 5 years. The unemployment rate was high 5 years ago, so there were a lot of people hanging out in front of the mosque because they had nothing else to do. But today, many people, including women, men and young people, are employed with the help of the national policy on employment promotion. They have sources of income to live on. Secondly, as we just talked about, people's minds have opened up, and they have a clear idea of what citizenship is and what faith is. So much has changed in this regard.
What is the biggest change you want to see in the next 5 years?
We grew up using things we had never heard of or seen before. The society is developing very fast. And my wish is that the next 5 years will be even better for us, which I am confident about.
You took over the job of your father as an imam. Now, with your own children, do you have similar expectations? Would they also be interested in doing religious work as you are doing now?
My father was indeed a patriotic religious man. He was well learned and a very good religious man. To follow in my father's footsteps, I also became a member of the religious order. I did it by choice, but my children don't want to take up my profession. They want to gain knowledge, and it's their choice to make. I will not force them to follow my religious cause or tell them to do this rather than that. I respect their choices.
Will you continue to be an imam or go even further on the religious road?
I would like to continue holding religious office, because whether it is a religious office or an office in another field, it is part of the work of serving the general public. I think we can all contribute our part, no matter what field we are in, as long as we do a good job in serving the people.
Thank you so much, Imam Jume.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your efforts.
你有几个孩子
？3个孩子。
他们多大了？
大的11岁了，小的6岁了。
他们会帮你干家务吗？
帮了。
啊。
那个丫头们帮我洗菜、洗衣服，儿子帮我，他可以自己做的那些。给我倒水呀，那些的他帮我做。
你和他们用什么语言说话？
有时候国语，有时候母语。
那他们在学校里能学到维吾尔语吗？
可以，专门有维吾尔语文课呢。
慢点啊，一定当心。啊，这就是种的是什么蘑菇？平菇。这边的工作辛苦吗？
不辛苦。
一个星期要多长时间？
大概每天8个小时。
销量好吗？
挺好的。
挺好的啊。会卖到中国其他地方吗？
也可以。
也可以。
我们目前就有一些计划。就那个哈萨克斯那个卖出哈萨克斯坦。
卖到哈萨克斯坦啊。3月18号，你在北京参加了一个发布会，在那儿你对郑国恩说了一段话，当时说的是个什么意思？
我让他知道，他说的都是废话，我觉得他是一个骗子。
在参加那个新闻发布会之前的感受是什么样的？
真的特别生气，因为我从来没听说过那样的话，也从来没看过我周边的人就受到那种影响。
比如说他们还说什么文化灭绝呀什么的，你知道什么意思吧？文化灭绝？
知道呢，但是我从小学的时候我也学过我们的母语，现在我3个孩子都学母语呢。
你觉得你们接下来要怎么做呢？你有没有想过这个问题？
也有想过。我只想我把这3个孩子就让他们好好学习母语、国语，未来给他们看看，他们是到底学了什么，是不是那个文化灭绝的事儿，是不是确实存在，或者全部是废话，我就让他们就那样子知道。
你希望你的孩子长大以后做什么？
我希望我孩子长大以后，就他喜欢干的一份工作就行了。我大丫头特别想当个老师，二女儿像个医生，我儿子呀他当个航员，
宇航员。
他还说，我将来我长大了，我当了个宇航员，我买了一架飞机，让你和爸坐，飞到北京去，让你们见习爷爷，给他感谢。
是吗？那如果过去的5年，如果让你给自己生活打分的话，你打多少分？
过去的5年，说实话给90分了。
给90分。
因为，在5年前，我真的却是一个普通家嫂，没有工作。后面儿子上幼儿园了以后，再有了工作，这都是党和政府的给我的一个好机会。
那么未来5年，你最想实现的愿望是什么？
未来5年，我想买一辆好车，然后在这里工作，更高，也当个经理呢。
你觉得多少个孩子是最合适的？还是说你想要孩子多的，再多生几个孩子？
我说实话，当时生完第1个孩子我不想再生了。
为什么？
因为这个生孩子，也不是那么难，但是把他养大，让他能接受到良好的教育，这是一个方面呢。然后，我大丫头上幼儿园的时候就全部免费了。上幼儿园、上小学、上初中、上高中都免费了，
将来也是免费的
就是，所以我相信将来也是免费。我再生1、2个孩子，完全可以把他们养大。
那你为什么不再多生几个呢？
我觉得这个已经够了呢。
是吗？
这太多了，将来如果男孩的话，给他买一套房子，给他买个车，给他娶个媳妇儿，这确实要花钱。
也要花钱。好的，谢谢啊，谢谢。
没事。
With that, we come to the end of this special edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. Thanks for watching. You've got the point.